I got a 0 on my assignment. Who is it?
It's Rick.
Fuck you, Rick.
Hey, fuck me. Fuck you, man. I'm here to do the show.
Fuck, I guess we gotta do this show, man. Hey! What up, Rick?
Bobby!
What's up,
How you
buddy?
doing, buddy?
Hey, let's do this fucking show, man.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, let's get into it.
Let's fucking get into her.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tim's 6-inch Sandwich Shop.
Half the sandwich, double the price.
Oh man, I love them sandwiches. I mean, definitely hit you in the wallet. You know, you definitely feeling it there, but man, do they make a good sandwich.
For sure, dude. It's like $28 for a little 6-inch, but I tell you, it's phenomenal. I love the taste. I love the ingredients. Tim's, you're doing real great work out there.
Yeah, appreciate the hard work and everything you do for us.
Welcome back to the Rick and Rob Show. I'm Rick.
And I'm Rob.
And today we have a very special guest with us, a man by the name of J.D. Smith.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's written a few books, published author. I worked with him in the past. Great individual. Love the guy. He's got a lot of wild theories about stuff going on out there. And we're interested to hear from him. So, J.D. Smith, why don't you say hello?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah. I'm
Thanks
just glad
for being
that we actually brought somebody on who's worth something.
Yeah.
Instead of just finding random people we know at work, you know.
Yep. The most famous person on the show, without a doubt.
Hands down.
So, it's my understanding, you're a published author. You've written more than one book now. How many books in total have you written and gotten published?
So right now, I'm sitting at 5 books.
Wow.
And they kind of rotate around time travel and a few other things.
That's interesting. Time travel has always been a topic that's intrigued me, and I know you commented on one of our previous videos. You really want us to get into it and dive deep into the world of time travel.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty shallow dive when it comes to time travel when I talk about it. So we'd like to hear from the master himself.
Yeah, Rob's breaking his neck in the shallow end here.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So y'all, I've listened to I've listened to all your podcasts.
I was going to say, just
Just
one.
one.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
cool.
Y'all talked about time travel, and I just sat there. I was like, yes, let's do this. And it kind of went. I think it was about 7 minutes if I clocked it right. And I sat there.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I've got to talk to you guys, and we have a little bit more in-depth conversation on time travel and what we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely did clock it right. That was back when Rob and I were trying to do 7 minutes and 30 seconds a segment. And it's just it's not going to work for the show. We need a lot more time to talk about stuff.
Very true.
Shall we start at the beginning?
Of time?
Why don't we? Yes,
Why not?
That's a great idea. Let's get there.
In the beginning. No. So
Got biblical on us.
Genesis, baby.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good book for time travel too, but we won't go too deep into that one right now. So for time travel, Rick, did I ever tell you why I wrote the first one?
Timecom? Or your first book?
The first one was Alternate Beginning.
Yes, and that had to do with a guy John Teeter, something like that?
Yep. There you go, spot on.
Yeah, and there was a lot of posts on a forum back in the day. He was time traveling and needed certain pieces to help fix this machine of his. And then he disappeared without a trace, basically. Is that close?
Yeah, pretty much. That's a pretty good general synopsis. John Teeter, if there was anybody who was a time travel master, that'd be him. But the only reason he was interesting to me was because when I started researching time travel and just any little instance, and I'm talking any conspiracy or any story you've read online or heard of, I have looked into it, researched it, and debunked it, or figured out where it came from. And I don't go about debunking it, saying that these people lied. I find it interesting that people can come up with these really, really elaborate stories.
Yeah.
and John Titor was the one that I couldn't disprove, and I thought that was the most amazing thing. And then it kind of delves, and it actually, he kind of starts with where we're going with the time travel conversation. So I really, really liked where it went with what John Titor represented. And the best way to explain it for time travel is he came from the year 2036, right? And he could do whatever he wanted in the timeline that he went to. So he went to go get parts for this IBM 5100 was the computer they needed parts for. And he could do anything he wanted, no matter what happened, because it wouldn't affect his timeline. So he would go back in time, and it's kind of like parallel realities, basically.
Reminds me a lot of Loki.
Does sound like it.
Yeah, there you go. So, like, if you're in the time machine, let's just say you've got a really good view of time passing by as you're going into the past, and there's a statue in front of a building, right? Dead center in front of the building. And you are going back in time. It's not necessarily going back through your own timeline, but going back through time into a parallel world. And that statue that's in the center of this building could now be on the left side of the building, or on the right side, or slightly over 1 inch from what you would know. So he could kill Hitler and it wouldn't make a difference in his timeline, kind of thing. You know, that's like kind of like the grandfather paradox in a sense, where you'll kill your grandfather, you're never born, but it doesn't exist.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So that's part of it. And that's actually kind of what's relevant with the more popular time travel talk.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to call it time travel talk right now, more like parallel realities. You know how, like, they turned on CERN and things like that, and they said, oh, CERN's going to blow up and destroy the universe, or something like that. Okay, so they turned it on, and nothing happened, right? Well, they found, like, different particles and things that didn't exist before.
Yeah, the Higgs boson, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, they're they're rediscovering things is what's really going on. So let's go back to the moment that they turned it on and it was supposed to destroy the universe. So you ever have the Mandela effect? You've heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Nelson Mandela?
I see it all the time, especially scrolling through TikTok or looking through Facebook, and like the Berenstein versus Berenstain, Pikachu's tail, different things like that. I just saw a video today about the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia, how it is actually there. Like, there are some older Fruit of the Loom items that have it on there, but yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, the Kazam movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Kazam,
crazy.
yeah.
It's because I was just about to bring that up.
Kazam?
Yeah, they had one with Sinbad, and they're like, no, there's never been with Sinbad, but everybody remembers one with Sinbad.
I remember it with Sinbad. I remember it with Shaq. I remember it with Sinbad. I remember both films because they were competing.
Yes, I clearly remember both.
It's kind of like how George Lucas wants to bury his Christmas special from Star Wars. Don't ever watch that if you have a chance. Don't ever
I
watch
will.
it.
I will. Don't get me tempted.
No.
Just a giant pile.
Yeah.
I watched it because I thought, I'm going to watch this because George Lucas, he made this, and now I understand why he tried to bury it and then never watch it again.
Hot garbage.
Isn't that? I think that was Boba Fett's first appearance.
Well,
Maybe.
I think it was.
Oh, yeah, in the cartoon. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's your Mandela story, too, on Star Wars. Luke, I am your father. No, I am your father.
Yep.
The quote. So, the fun part with that. So let's say all these are actually real. So, and I'm using the CERN Collider as the example of the cataclysm that I think Earth has gone through 6 apocalyptic events or whatever it is. Like
I believe it's 6.
Yeah.
Extinction level events, I'm sorry.
Right.
And so let's say the CERN Collider is the extinction level event. Now, the multiverse theory, everything is every decision, every whatever you make, there's another parallel universe, there's a multiverse, right? So there's a version of something out there. So the CERN Collider turns on, and the CERN Collider blows up. Now, the theory, or idea, I should say, idea is a better word, is that your consciousness in your brain that is you, the essence that is you, is blown into the identical or somewhat identical physical being next to you in the very close parallel universe, right? So your mind goes into the next body kind of thing, kind of like Body Snatchers.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of hints of Scientology here.
Yeah.
Well, and then hence why you have the conversation of it's Fruit Loops, with OOT or UIT,
right?
Because you're arguing about it because nobody can remember. Now it could just be a normal memory. There's actually a process called for it, but that is the idea behind parallel universes, is that maybe your universe is being destroyed and your consciousness is being blown into your almost identical persona. Hence why you have these memories that sometimes you don't often remember, but you remember Bernstein instead of Bernstein, and you argue with people about it because they remember it differently. Yeah. Because in their reality, it was Bernstein, where in your reality, it was Bernstein.
I remember Bernstein.
I was like Bernstein.
You son of a bitch.
Yo, Clan Bernstein, what's up?
We're fighting.
Yeah, that's it.
So, in the world of time travel, you have time communication. So if you could hear from your future self, and you could, the future lottery numbers, and your future self tells you what they are, and then you become a millionaire overnight, the very next day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to win the lottery, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So what if you could talk to yourself in the future? How would you go about doing it? And this is the Timecom series that I wrote. Mm-hmm. And I came up with a scientific method to actually do this. And what you have to do, if you want to, and I'll kind of start with this, Rob, have you ever had dreams that were very fleeting, and it was like a nonsensical dream, like it wasn't very important, and you pretty much forgot the dream, and like 6 months, 8 months to a year later, you had like this memory flash, and like, hey, I had a dream about this. You had a deja vu experience.
Yes.
Have you ever had that?
Yes, a few different times. Yeah, a few different times.
So sometimes people say that deja vu is you being on the right path in life, and that's where you're supposed to be. But normally it's, like an 8 month to a year difference, right? Like, because the dream was something, just little stuff like you opening a door or driving down a road or picking up a cup or something. Very, very small little things that don't really matter. But once the moment happens, 8 months to a year later, you're kind of sitting there watching it, and you're like, hey, I remember doing this already. So there's your deja vu experience.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
So how can you use that? There's a way you have to figure out the time distance. Like, that is you in the future. So what's happening is you're asleep and you're having this dream. The reason you're having this image in your head is because your future self is going about their daily life, opening a door, driving down a road, picking up a cup, and then you are just synced up enough to where you are seeing through your future self's eyes, but you're asleep because it's going through your subconscious, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a way to do it to where you can figure out the time distance between, I'm saying 8 months to a year, and that's how you're having your dreams, but there's a way to figure out the time distance between your current self and your future self. And what you have to do is you have to make a constant in your life. Like, in the military, you don't really have a lot of constant everyday stuff. You wish you did, but you don't. But normal people can make a constant in their lives where every day at the same exact time, let's just say 11 to 12, lunchtime, things like that, that person goes out and introduces themselves to a new random person during the same time every day. They introduce themselves, they find out that person's name, they make a mental note of what that person was wearing, and then 5 minutes out of their day, right? And then they go back to their normal stuff. And every day they do this. Eventually, because they've created a constant in their life and they do this every day, they should eventually have a dream about another person that they've never met before in clothes that they've probably never seen before. And they might, if they hear the auditory portion of it, they'll hear the person's name. And let's say they meet a person named Bob, as the example. So what they need to do at that very moment is when they wake up, because it's a fleeting dream, and they need to wake up, write down Bob's name, what he was wearing, and that's pretty much it, right? And they just write down the date that it happens to their current self. So they continue doing the constant over and over and over and over and over. And so about 8 months to a year will go by, and eventually you will run into, or they will run into Bob, and they will see the clothes. Now here's the problem. If you are not to affect the timeline, do you continue introducing yourself like you normally do, or do you go up to that person and say, hey, your name's Bob, right? And completely freak this complete stranger out that's never met you before. But once you have gotten to this point in time that you actually physically in person meet Bob, you write down the date. Now, you look at the date from the time that you had the dream of Bob to the moment that you had the physical interaction with Bob. And it'll probably be 8 months to a year. So now you know the time distance of your future self. And y'all tell me to pause so I can stop talking if y'all want to ask questions.
I am, just for a second, going to have you pause for a minute. I want to ask Rob, what do you think about this right now? How is your mind blown? Is this something you've heard before?
My mind is blown, but immediately I go to a comedic level of my brain.
Yeah.
So, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, there's Bob. I'm going to go up, hey, Bob, give me your wallet. Like, immediately, like, freak him out and rob him. Like, take it to a whole new level.
Yeah. When Smith, when you had originally explained this concept to me, like I've said in an upcoming episode of the show, it's insane to me. Honestly, I never heard of a story like this. It's a completely original idea, which I think is very difficult to find these days.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, I'm pretty mind blown right now, because I've definitely had those moments more than enough times.
Do you feel like, Rob, if you sat and did this experiment, if you went out every day, every morning, on your walk to work, let's say,
mm-hmm.
and introduced yourself to somebody, do you think that you would be able to have that dream? And do you think this is something that you could do? Would you be able to effectively communicate with your future self?
100%. You know, this also, like, brought up the question, got me thinking, right? So, like, intuition, right? Or people who are seers who can look into the future. Are they just people who are better connected with their future self, so they're able to see that far into the future? You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're not magic or have this gifted ability. They just are more connected on the, I guess, cosmic scale of time to be able to speak to the future self. So
yeah. It definitely raises a lot of questions and answers even less, just because of the nature of time and everything. And, you know, we really don't know a lot about it, how it works. Time travel, especially. Not time. We understand minutes, hours, seconds. But
that's what all those things are on the clock?
But the time travel aspect of it is really hard to comprehend and kind of wrap your head around it sometimes, because if you do go back in time and you run into your past self, or you go forward in time and run into your future self, like, how do things play out? Are you affecting that timeline? Are you not affecting it? Is it like you had mentioned earlier with John Teeter, how you can just, you do whatever the hell you want on your timeline and you're good?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's crazy to think about.
Oh. It's just,
So that's one of the reasons I don't like Terminator. I love Terminator, don't get me wrong.
Right.
The movie Terminator, alright? But if you've ever watched Terminator Genesis, and then you start watching all the other Terminators back to back kind of thing, there's only one problem with it that always ever made me mad. And this is why it always makes me mad in time travel movies. You always see the person time traveling for whatever reason.
Yeah.
In Terminator, you see the machines come back, they try to kill John Connor, Sarah Connor, whoever, right? But you never see the original event that caused Skynet to say, hey, we're going to send a Terminator back. You never saw that original event.
that is a good point.
It is. That when did Genesis come out? Was that like 2019 or something? 2018 maybe? I feel like it was recent.
Yeah, it was, it was not that long ago.
No. That's dark, whatever. Terminator Dark Matter or whatever it was.
What?
Yeah, no.
¿Por qué?
Genesis happened in 2014, maybe?
We got Rob searching it up on the Google machine. The Rick and Rob Show is not sponsored by Google.
But if you'd like to sponsor us, please take the time.
Yeah, we'll fucking throw a slide in Rob's house, and that's how we'll get down the stairs easier.
Mm-hmm. 2015 is when Terminator Genesis came out.
Dang, what came out after that one? And now you got me curious, because I don't know if I saw it, Genesis in theaters? I don't know. I can't remember.
See, I saw Genesis while I was over in England. That's why I remember that.
Oh. Funny story, that's where we are now. You know this. How's that,
Dark Fate.
Yeah, Dark Fate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think I ever saw that one.
Me either. I lost interest.
Yeah. Right. But back to it. Justin, please continue.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So now you know the time distance between your future self. So you change up your constant, and you go into something a little bit different. And this is where kind of the communication comes in. Instead of doing it every afternoon on your lunch break or whatever, you need to take this time to do it in your the silence of your own home for at least 20 to 30 minutes. And you have to do it around the same time. So generally evening time, 6 or 7 o'clock. What you do is you take a notebook and you put the date and time in this notebook, and you write a question. Okay? And you could say, and it could, start out with hello, or what day is it, or what's your favorite color? Something very basic. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you write down this question in the notebook, and then subsequently you take and I prefer a whiteboard. Whiteboard works out because you can erase it. A small whiteboard that you can hold, and you put that same question, and then put the day that you wrote it. And then you flip that around and have a mirror that you can look at. It doesn't have to be a big mirror, just, like either one of those small, long ones, or the one you have in your bathroom, maybe.
Okay.
So I do have to ask a question here at this point, because it's something, after reading Timecom and just the portfolio of pages that
Don't
I
ask
had.
me.
Don't ask you what.
Don't ask me that question. How's this? I know what question you're gonna ask.
All right, Mr. Time Traveler, what question am I going to ask?
Do you do this?
No.
Have you done this?
Nope, that's not it.
Dang it.
So no, so
Nobody else asked that.
What did the whiteboard say?
yeah. How many times have you done it? Does it work? No, my question to you is, you talk about having this whiteboard. Hello, me. What's your favorite color? And then I hold it up in front of a mirror.
Right.
How do I know what that question says with the words being reversed from my perspective?
So you're gonna write it to where you can actually read it.
So I'd write it
So you're-
backwards.
So you're gonna write it backwards.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like that's a very critical piece of information here.
He answers back in
It's gonna work.
Spanish, like,
Yeah.
darn it, like,
In Russian. For all of you out there listening, that's how you do it. You want to reverse it on the whiteboard so that you can actually read it when you hold it up to the mirror. So from your perspective, you actually see what it says.
Bingo.
Nice. All right. Sorry. Please continue.
No, that's fine. I'm actually glad you asked that one because you're, I think, maybe the first person to ask me about a mirror reflection. So that's great.
It's something I've always thought about it, man. Like ever since you printed out the original script or the original rough draft for me and throughout reading the book, I was so confused by it because I assumed that in your dreams, when the individual sees the question and they respond back, it would be inverted. But then I just didn't know. So I thank you for that clarification.
your future self's gonna be like, this guy freaking dyslexic? Like, what's wrong? What's wrong with him?
Listexic? What the fuck?
Yeah, what's wrong with this guy?
No. But invert it. That makes sense.
Reflected.
Yeah.
Okay, so you write all this down. You stand or sit, however you prefer, in front of a mirror, looking at the written word on the whiteboard, and you do this for about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, here's the kick. You are now creating a new constant because you know the distance in time of your future self. So you know how long it's going to take to actually get the fun moment of a bounce back message for your future self. So you are standing there asking these questions, right? But your future self, knowing the past in which they started doing this and knowing the time distance themselves, know when to start with sending back messages to their past self. So while you are standing there in the mirror, your future self will be responding to your questions with a response instead of another question. So they'll be responding with, what color, what's your favorite color? They'll say purple or something, I don't know, whatever your favorite color is, and so on and so forth. Now here's the reason they know how to respond to each question sequentially. Your future self has the notebook that you've been writing the questions in, and they know what day it is, and they know the time distance, so they're going to be able to respond to each question in order that you sent them.
I do enjoy reading about that a lot in Timecom. Initially, when the main character Joni's doing all this stuff, but I gotta tell you, it goes off the rails quick. It just hits with action pretty much after the first chapter, and it's nonstop delivery. It's a good book, Rob. You should read it.
Definitely gonna read it.
I'd say I'll let you borrow it, but just J.D. Smith here, he's a working man, so you should buy it on Amazon instead. It's on there on Amazon for $12.99. I'll put the link in this episode, so if you wanted to go check it out, please do. It's a great read, great time travel read, like I said. So, yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can contact this jerk off in the future. See if I can get him on the right track here.
Who, you?
Yeah, who, me? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fun part with when you start looking into time travel stuff, you see all the conspiracy theories.
Of course.
And you see the future man in the 1950s photo, the black and white photo of the guy with the glasses.
You've seen that one a few different times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The lady
people
walking
say, well,
the circus or carnival video. It looks like she's talking on a cell phone.
Yeah, I've seen the one with the Egyptians. It had a cell phone. I saw one like that too.
That one's fake. But don't get me started on Egypt, Rob.
Yeah, I don't want to. I thought we just rock this boat a little bit while we're here.
Oh, I'll rock you, all right. Rock your world, baby.
All right, the same guy.
it's kind of like the Egyptian hieroglyphs with the helicopter and the jet plane and everything like that.
So
Explain that one to me.
okay, so I will explain it to you right now. With those are known doubles of hieroglyphs, basically. So you have one dynasty that goes through, they put the hieroglyphs on there, and then you have another one or another person's coming in to deface it, and they cover up. And with stone, it's a little difficult to just erase, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead, they'll just reprint over top the new hieroglyphs. And there's videos out there debunking the plane, the land speeder, the helicopter, all that, because it shows how those hieroglyphs are split up into two different hieroglyphs.
Mm.
Yeah. The only thing about Egypt, though, that really drives me nuts is the Dendera light bulb,
Mm-hmm.
and that picture of the serpent going through like a modern day light bulb. It looks like, and then also how they lit these caves and tombs where they created these giant obsidian sarcophagi. So there's no burn marks in the caves or in those hallways from torches, which is what they would have used back in the day. So that's where I think the Baghdad battery comes into play.
Yes.
And the Dendera light bulb. I think they're one and the same almost.
I do appreciate the Baghdad battery, especially with the whole citrus and copper plating that make electrical currents. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy what they had back in the day. I say back in the day, this is thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Not like 3-4 weeks ago.
Well, here's something to really screw with your mind about ancient Egyptians, right?
Oh, good.
So
I love it.
ancient Egyptians who had the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
We study ancient Egyptians. Ancient Egyptians studied other ancient peoples.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the distance and time of we're trying to figure out what the Egyptians were doing, the ancient Egyptians, and there was somebody way back when further that the ancient Egyptians studied themselves. You don't even know who it is.
Yeah, which is insane when you think about it.
It's good. I don't know who it is. I don't know, man, because I think Egypt itself is a lot older than people realize. I think the pyramids and the Sphinx were already there. I think the Sphinx was originally carved when the Nile was a lot closer to the pyramids, and the desert there was more of a jungle. Maybe not a jungle, but plains.
Oh, yeah.
Because they talked about in the Sahara,
Mm-hmm.
digging down, how they found petrified wood and whatnot down there. So at some point in time, all this sand covered this vast area in Africa, and that's crazy to think about, too.
Yeah, super, super crazy to think about.
I'm definitely on Graham Hancock's side, where he says that the pyramids were built right around the Younger Dryas, which is about 11,200 years ago. His books, Graham, whenever he goes on a podcast and he talks about Egypt, he's got my attention for the full fucking 3 hours, however long Joe Rogan does it. It's a ridiculous amount of time. But
That's stupid long shows.
yeah, fuck Theo Von. I can't do it for that long. You know, it's great and all, but I gotta get up. You take a shit sometimes, and it's difficult. Kind of
Well, I think
derailed.
they're doing it during the afternoon as well, you know, so it's just kind of like, what
Yeah.
time of the day we got to do it?
That is true.
I mean, if my full time job, I had a $200 million contract from Spotify to do nothing but podcasts, I'd be a little more motivated to do.
Yeah, I'd get a fucking JWAD pedal pack just
Yeah.
hooked up, and that's how I would just live. I would just be there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but Joe Rogan got, because of the original podcast for Spotify, so he got a $200 million contract from them to
Wow.
do nothing but podcasts
That's
for Spotify.
crazy, dude. I mean, fuck, I'd take a $1 million contract, honestly.
Honestly, I just would like to have a contract. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
You give me $25,000 a year, I'll pump out 4-hour episodes. I don't care.
Yeah, we'll talk about something.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Let's see. You know what? Have I told you what I've been up to lately besides writing books?
Yes.
Fighting dragons.
No.
Can I tell? Can I tell Rob?
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'll let you tell him.
All right, Rob. Are you just for the fun of it?
Okay.
Which airframe do you work on?
The F-15.
The F-15, the E model or the C model?
The E model.
There's a lot of questions here.
Mm-hmm. They're real specific there, guy.
The reason I'm asking is because over the past few months, I have been working on a restoration project for an F-16 and an F-22 mini jet.
Oh, nice.
And a mini jet is something that the recruiters used to use back in the day at air shows and things like that. And they had a 2-seater F-22 and a 1-seater F-16 that they would bring around and just drive. They're like kind of like electric go-karts. And they drive around in them.
That's pretty dope. Yeah, that's really cool.
Does it sound like an F-16 when it's running?
So I ripped out the speaker system.
Okay.
So
Good.
It doesn't sound like it anymore.
That's
you
a
tell me
good
you're not
thing,
going to
dude.
make a propulsion jet engine in your garage and have it slap it together with duct tape and put it on the back of a golf cart?
Hey, you'd be surprised. I could come up with something.
Yeah. We'll use the whiteboard, talk to our future self, see if it happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. That's great. I'm glad it doesn't sound like an F-16 though, because those things are just super high pitched and
Yeah, so,
annoying.
yeah. I'm a Core 16 guy, so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad it doesn't sound like that. And deafening.
Yeah.
But this show uses AI, right?
Enough.
We do use it to help us determine topics sometimes, jokes, quizzes. All of our art is done by AI. So it's not like Dudesy where it's run by AI. Speaking of which, I did email Chad Kultgen from that show. I'm still waiting on a response because he's got a lot of emails. And now I'm sure it's going to be even longer since Doozy's kind of blowing up right now with bringing George Carlin back from the dead for that comedy special.
That's going to be great.
Yeah. But,
Yeah. Hopefully we get on soon. That'd be nice.
yeah. Justin, how many, not how many, but what other books have you written and had published?
So I did 5 so far, and I'm working on a few others. But so I did Alternate Beginning, and that's the one based around John Teeter.
Yeah.
I did Timecom. I just recently published Timecom Unbound.
That's the one. That's the one you sent me the link to
Yeah, there
on
you go.
Amazon. So I think we'll include that one in the link to the show, or at least in the description, because the other one, if I recall correctly, is still not available via you on Amazon. It is available, but it's through a different publisher.
No, so they are all available on Amazon now.
Beautiful.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you you want to hear the experience behind publishing books?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, I
the
can-
audience would love that.
I can only imagine, because I actually have some questions about writing a book as well.
You know what? We're definitely going to have a conversation then. So here's the kick, right? So you write something down, and whatever it is, it could be a whole bunch of poems or sonnets, or it could be a story, a manuscript of something. The kick behind getting a book published is as follows. You spend I don't know, months and months, maybe years of your life writing so many pages. And it could be 200 pages, it could be 300 pages, it could be 600, like that crazy nut job who writes Fire and Ice. Martin,
Yeah, well, I mean, let's go and get going with the Winds of Winter already. Come on, I'm trying to finish it before I die, let alone before he dies. Fuck me.
You just need AI to finish it. They'll know what happened.
It'd probably be a better ending than the show. He still has to do a Dream of Spring after Winds of Winter anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now you want to publish something.
Right.
And there's 3 ways to publish something. There is traditional publishing, vanity publishing, and independent publishing. And this is kind of where the story goes. Is originally somebody brought up the book The Martian, the movie that then became the movie, and they said, this guy originally did it, wrote the story on his website, and then somebody said, hey, you should put this as a Kindle version or a PDF version, and he did, and then it became a Kindle version, it became a paperback version, and then it got picked up. People loved it, so then it eventually became a movie. Now, the trick here is you write a manuscript and you want to turn it into a book. Independent publishing is like publishing through Kindle Direct Publishing with Amazon. Mm-hmm. And it's actually really, really easy. And depending on your book size you want to do, it has multiple formats for margins for the actual paper copies. And there's an app or a program called Kindle Create that you put on your computer, and it transfers your your Microsoft Word document into a Kindle document, and it makes it's really, really easy to do. So you would independently publish through Amazon, and you can use their basic book cover makers, or you could go on to something like Fiverr. Highly recommend that, to get a graphics artist to create you a book cover to the dimensions that the size of your book would be, and for like $25, give or take. It just depends on who's doing it. The cost. Sometimes you can get them for $10, honestly, and they're wonderful. I love using Fiverr for that.
Yeah, Fiverr's pretty great.
For sure.
So then so that's independent, and you independently publish your book. You could, for however much money you think it's valued at. Me personally, I kind of get a kick out of doing $2.99 for Kindle and $12.99 for a paperback. Why? I don't know. I'm not about to go make it $30 for no reason. I'd rather people actually buy my book and read it and be entertained by it than say, well, I spent $20 on this, and have some sort of negative opinion because of that before they read it.
Sure.
Right.
So then you independently publish. You have put something out on Amazon. Hopefully you had it edited a couple of times by some friend and then a professional editor before putting it out.
Yeah.
Look, Rick, I'm looking at you.
I feel the glare, the gaze. I can feel it burning on me.
So there's some misspelled words in the book, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the funny part, man. You write something down and you edit it yourself because you wrote it, so you know how it's going to go. And you're going to, if you do your due diligence, you're going to read your own work maybe 5 to 10 times before you're like, yeah, it's good. And in that 5 to 10 times, you're going to miss something. And that's why it's always, I highly recommend, at least having somebody you trust to read over your work and, highlight or point out something that doesn't make sense to them, because the reader, you might not have conveyed the story properly to the reader because in your head you understand it. So that's like half the battle right there.
Yeah.
So you've done that and you put it out there, and there you go. Now, I put mine out there, my first one, and it was actually kind of funny because people, if you kind of want to be your own self-advertising thing, and when I started, I don't think TikTok was a thing. I think it was still Vine or something like that. So I never really
Yeah,
got
Vine were
into
good
it.
days.
Yeah.
Do it for the Vine.
Yeah.
But now, there's one author that I appreciate how he's doing it and what he's doing, and it's A.P. Beswick. He rewrote like all these old stories with like Robin Hood and things like that. And I think it's how he did it. The way I found out about him was the way how he advertised. His TikTok his entire page is him advertising his books, right? And how he went about doing it. I think it's wonderful how he does it. Very standard format, but it's kind of eye-catching. But he's self-advertising through TikTok, through Instagram, through Facebook. And that's the other part. You create first your own independent publishing. You then hopefully have a Facebook or an Instagram or something like that where people can follow you as the author that you have become. And then you can create advertisement posts that you can get on through Facebook and Instagram and pay Facebook and Instagram to advertise for however many days to this max amount of people. And I'm telling you, that number goes up really, really quick on how much you're paying them.
No, I believe it.
Well, 100%. I definitely believe that.
So
Yeah.
I've tried, so I've done the independent part and I've done the self-advertising part. And probably I know I didn't do, me personally looking at it all, I know that I don't do the self-advertising bit as well as I should. And if you really have the time to make 20 videos in one day and then post them throughout each day, schedule them to post and everything for people to see them, then good on you.
Mm-hmm.
Then there comes when you want to try something different. You can do one of two things. You can do traditional publishing or vanity publishing. And let me tell you, I don't know how much it was, I'm just going to say $1,000 mistake that I made, just because I don't want to go higher than that number because I don't want to hurt my feelings anymore. But
the embarrassment. Let's bring on the embarrassment on.
yeah. Vanity publishing is exactly what it sounds like. You have the written word and you find a vanity publishing company to publish your work. They will edit the work for you. They'll make a book cover for you, from cradle to the grave kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you pay them to do all of this. The publishing and the quote unquote advertising, interviews and things like that. And generally it's like a 2-year contract that they will publish your work for you. And while it's an interesting thing to see the reach in which they do their publishing through, it's an expensive lesson if it doesn't work out for you. But it's interesting to see somebody take your work and publish it on all platforms like Apple, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, and see that it reaches all these selling platforms across the world, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
If you don't sell anything, and you're not going to make your money back on what you gave this vanity publisher. So then the 2 years can go by, and then you go right back to independent publishing because it didn't work out. Cool. So there's that. Now, and that's a hard lesson to learn.
I bet, dude.
Yeah, it is as sad as you made it sound.
Thank you. I hope people don't do vanity publishing ever again.
Just a word to our listeners: don't do vanity publishing.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, avoid vanity publishing.
Yes.
So then there is traditional publishing, and I would assume at some point in y'all's lives you've opened a book and maybe you've seen it published by Random House or Penguin House or whatever place or whatever publishing company.
Hot Dog House.
Scholastic.
The Rick and Rob Show.
House.
Yeah.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah.
But Scholastic, where you all got your Goosebumps books from.
Yeah, hell yeah. And Animorphs.
Animorphs, there you go.
That's all that matters. The Goosebumps don't matter.
Dude, I read recently K.A. Applegate, I guess she had a bad time with her publishers as well. So what she did, I guess she still owns the copyright to those books, so she just said fuck it and put them out online for free in PDF format for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a subreddit about it, and they got the link in there, so check it out. Animorphs, r/Animorphs, something like that.
You know what? I'm gonna need that link from you because
I'll give it to
I
you.
don't have my old Animorphs books anymore, and I'd love to read them.
Yeah, I know. I still have a couple, but yeah, I don't. Not like I used to.
Right. So the traditional publishing.
Yeah.
And we'll use Scholastic or Random House as the example. I want to have them publish my work. You cannot go to these people, or you cannot email them, you cannot call them to request some time to publish your work, right? To at least review it. You don't send your written work to these publishing companies anymore. The way it works is just like the movie industry. You need an agent, and you need to basically sell yourself to the agent with your written work. Now, the agencies, and there are many, 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 depending on what genre they publish. It could be humor to dark fantasy to science fiction, things like that. And some are very specific. But there are multiple different agencies out there, and they all require specific formats to see your work. They might want to see all of your work. They might want to see the first paragraph. They might want a synopsis with the first 2 pages, stuff like that, and they'll make their decisions based off of that.
Just off of that.
Just off of that. And
so
you get about 50 different rejection letters.
I was going to say, they're literally judging a book by its cover.
Literally the cover.
Yeah.
So Fiverr better show out.
That's how you sell books, is by their cover. There has to be a catch somewhere that makes a person look at that book. So yeah, you sell a book by its cover almost, at least to advertise, hey, I'm a book and I'm sitting here, look at me. So then you sell yourself to these agents, right? And you get yourself a agent who will go on your behalf to these different publishing companies and try to sell your written work to them. And they could go to and I don't know how many publishing companies there are. There's quite a few.
Yeah.
But they could go to Scholastic or Random House and say, hey, this would be a great book for you to publish. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the story. We think it'd be really good. And what'll happen is this is where the copyright and the royalties and percentages go. Now, that publishing company might say, well, let's just buy the book outright. We think this is great. And want to give you like $20,000, $50,000, whatever. Or the smarter way is to stick with royalties and retain the copyright of your story and get that percentage. And I hope y'all have somebody on here who says that I'm completely full of shit and don't know what I'm talking about, because I'd love somebody to actually come on to y'all show and give a different version of how this works. But this has been my experience, and I hope somebody else can add more to this later on.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And I tell you what, this being your experience, that's just how you perceive it. This is your experience. So if we get somebody else on the show and they say, well, he's out of his fucking mind, this is my experience, then I'll say, all right, stand by for episode 27, where we have J.D. Smith and a guy who says it's different.
Yeah, let's bring back the response.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and that's how it works. That's, in general, those are the 3 forms of publishing of your written work, and that's how you get it out there. And if you can get an agent who's like, heck yes, this is the best thing I've ever written, I'm going to sell this to, I'm going to sell you to Random House or Scholastic, and this is going to be a great working relationship. Those people will then help with the advertising. Those are the people that then make the the book meet and greets and everything like that, and where you go out and sign books and stuff like that. Those are the people who really push your name out there and have you doing interviews and things like that. But generally, those are the three that you can normally do.
That's very interesting, and I really hope our listeners, if you're out there and you want to get something published, please take his experience into consideration. But Justin, I'm going to have to put you on pause here real quick. We'll be right back after this ad. This next segment of the Rick and Rob Show is brought to you by John Teeter's two-seater repeater convertibles.
Ooh, the future says it'll be warm.
That's what he says. He says the future is warm. He is one of the biggest car salesmen in downtown Chicago, Illinois.
Ooh.
And yeah, I think he's right. I think the future will be warm with global warming and whatnot.
I mean, that is a hell of a prediction, man. Selling nothing but convertibles is a pretty good prediction. Not gonna lie, being right in the lake, right in Lake Michigan there, I know what those winters are like.
Yeah. He does do pretty well for himself, though, especially in Chicago, where it does get cold. It gets
it gets fucking cold there.
Yeah, luckily, his convertibles are hardtop convertibles, so you gotta take it off yourself. But still,
it's like taking that old cap off the back of your truck.
Yeah.
They're a little rusty, but it'll come off.
She will. Thanks, John Teeter's two-seater repeater convertibles.
Appreciate it. Welcome back, everybody, to the Rick and Rob Show with our special guest, J.D. Smith. And in segment 2 here, we like to do a kind of a in-house favorite thing here where we let the guest speak pretty much their mind, and it's their little world. We want to hear what they think about certain topics.
Yeah.
So me and Rick thought of a few different ones, but we'll also let JD just jump in here and give us whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Go ahead, Rick. Go and say what you're gonna say, man.
Thanks. So my first question for you is, how did you develop this concept of TimeCom? How did you come up with the idea for the book?
So if the how do I explain this? Okay, the first chapter, right? The first story that was TimeCom, right? Originally, it was only going to be 13 pages. Here's a short story. I hope y'all enjoy it, kind of thing. And in those pages, the first so many pages, is pretty much what I discussed on the scientific method to actually doing it, right? The process to do time communication.
Right.
And the story is with Jonah and his friend Peter and this conversation that they had. That conversation was a real conversation that myself and my friend, who I call Peter, it's not his real name, but I call him Peter as a joke from the Fringe series back in the day.
Ooh, love Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls me Walter, so you figure that one out.
Because you're older and wiser and just fucking insane.
Just fucking insane.
We were discussing, he would call me and he'd say, hey dude, my friend just had this dream about, it was like he was in the future, but it was the same time zone, same timeline, all this kind of stuff. And we would discuss the deja vu moments. And as I came up with the method to do this, to prove that your future self is the reason why you're having these dreams, and then you have the deja vu moment. How do you prove you're having a deja movement? How do you prove where the visual or auditory input is coming from? So that's where I came up with the process for TimeCom, which is time communication, and how you go about doing it, and then actually utilizing your dreams and the deja vu experience to benefit yourself in a way.
That's really interesting, dude. I remember when you first showed up to the base we were at together, there was that 13-page document just hanging out in the break room. And I thought, what the heck is this? So I read it, and I was like, holy fuck, dude. This is, where did this go? What book did somebody steal this from? Where did they get this from? Because this is fucking insane.
Making you blush.
Oh, hot flashes, hot flashes. Oh,
Oh,
no,
hey, take it easy.
Hey, calm down,
Must be
guy.
my
Calm down,
age.
guy.
no. So that was the whole kick. You know, this conversation, what happened, and it was while I was waiting on the edits for my first book for Alternate Beginning. So I wrote out the process, and I was like, this would be kind of a cool story. So then I continued writing it, and you may or may not remember the very last line of the first chapter.
Of course I do.
That screws with everybody.
How could I not?
That line did not exist before the first time I wrote it.
Mandela effect.
And-
Really?
And after I let like 4 people read it, and they thought, hey, this is really cool, are you writing more? I went back, I read it, and I put in that last line to continue writing, and that's how it all expanded after that.
I believe, and this all happens in like the very first chapter of this book.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. After the first chapter, it's all fucking action from there because you're so invested just by that last line, dude. It's honestly, it's fucking, it's insane. I say insane a lot, but this is crazy. God, what was it? Daddy, can you hear me? Something like that?
There you go.
They
There you
call
go.
me
Daddy,
Ishmael.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Day one.
Daddy, can you hear me? Day one. It's fucking that. Yeah, I knew I had to have more after reading that.
And then you got to read the entire whole thing, and you're like, wow.
As
What
it
have you
was
done?
coming out, yeah, as it was flowing from your mind onto paper, I was receiving that paper, getting a look at it, and it was, golly, dude, what a ride.
In my head, though, like, what if you would have never connected that to any of the rest of the book? You just read the rest of the book. Like, that line makes no sense in the rest of it.
Yeah.
Damn it, it must be in another book, and you just keep reading.
And, yeah, it never shows up
Looking
again.
for the answer for it.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's a real J.J. Abrams way to go about it. I wouldn't do that.
You're like, oh, you're going to read all 12 books, I promise you.
Yeah, I'll explain it in the 13th one.
right? Finally, we have the answer.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to write a book.
Yeah. You talked about Fringe there for a brief minute, and I gotta say, dude, that show, I watched it when I was in Korea the first time I started it, and I blew through a couple seasons that were out, and it's fucking amazing. Have you ever seen Fringe, Rob?
Yeah, I've seen Fringe.
Fringe is great. It deals with fringe science. There's this main character, detective. She's Olivia
Yep.
Dunham.
I think
There
it's,
you go.
In her
Yeah,
name
Dunham.
is their name in the show. Great portrayal on screen. Her and Peter, this guy, they do become romantically involved later in the show. But his father, Walter, works at Harvard. He's a genius. And I'm really just giving you the whole synopsis for Fringe here. We've all seen the show. But for the listeners, this is how it goes. And they deal with fringe science, different cases, alternate realities. It's quite a crazy show, and it does. I am satisfied with the ending, the series finale, with how they ended it. It's one of the few shows that I'm like, okay, I'm happy with how they ended it.
Yeah,
The
it was a
white
great show.
tulip.
The white tulip. I've seen a lot of people get that tattooed on, just that little like minimalist tattoo drawing of the tulip. It's a good one. I would probably get it.
Should we get it?
No, we gotta get the Rick and Rob show tattoos.
I mean, it's going to happen regardless.
Yeah,
but
all right.
It'll just be
No,
on
that was
White
the
Tulips.
joke, man. My buddy who I'll call Peter for now.
Yeah.
This was back at a different base at Seymour Johnson back in the day, and
Rough.
I was talking. Yeah, I was talking about like aliens or some sort of maybe time travel. I don't know. It could have been some sort of science, something.
Yeah.
But the way I was talking about it, that's when my buddy looked at me and said, "All right, Walter, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Why'd you call me Walter?" And he's like, he looked at me. He's like, "You don't know?" He said, "You sound just like this person." And I was like, "Who are you talking about?" He said, "Have you ever seen that show called Fringe?" And I was like, "What's that?" He said, "Dude, you sound just like this Walter Bishop. You need to watch this show." And then I like binge watched all 5 seasons, and I was like, "This is the best show in the world."
Yeah, dude, it really was. I miss it. I might go back. I did go back and rewatch it all in 2019 when I was in Texas for about 6 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that then, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind a rewatch of Fringe,
Oh,
not
for sure.
Friends, because Fringe and Friends, they sound similar, but this is definitely Fringe. Fringe.
Fringe.
Yeah.
For the people in the back, it's Fringe.
Fringe. Yeah. It's a great show. Rob, I also, you brought some stuff up too, just after our ad when we were still on that brief break. That you had some questions for him,
Yeah.
J.D. Smith as well.
So, as somebody who's a big reader, so I always come to the conclusion, like, I always wanted to write a book, right? But I'm not real sure on how the process of actually writing a book, right? Because everyone thinks the concept is easy, right? You just write
Yeah.
down your thoughts, you organize it, and you have your hook and setting and everything along those points, right? But to be able to build in dialogue and tie characters together, like, that had to have taken practice, a lot of research. I feel like you brought up before, you had to read your book 5 to 10 times, to try and make sure it made sense. But I mean, I can only imagine you probably rewrote paragraphs over and over and over just to have it make sense with the dialogue or how they're speaking, or so that things make sense later down the line. And that's the part where, if I was to sit down and decide to try and write a book, I'd struggle with, because I'd be like, damn,
Well,
what was he talking about last chapter?
Yeah, the problem with Rob is he's illiterate, so
I mean, yeah, I have to do it all with finger painting, but
like Charlie from Always Sunny.
can you imagine doing
Children's book.
a 400-page book of finger painting?
Oh, I'm sure it exists.
The next bestseller right there.
Yep.
I must go. But yeah, I'm just curious your process with writing and how you figured it out.
So, oh man, this is gonna blow y'all's mind.
I hope.
how
AI
started
did it.
doing
That's
this.
what you're here for. Blow us away, dude.
So when it really comes down to it, we all have to sit here and thank my mother, Rebecca Smith, because she was my first teacher, basically. And she was like my first and third grade teacher back in the day. And she was the one who encouraged me, or, I don't want to say encouraged. She was always the one who was editing my work in English and when I would have to write stories or something for school. So we're going to thank her for this one. And what had happened and how I started doing all this. And this is the most abstract reason ever. I had a conversation with a friend about a video game or an app, or like Candy Crush or something, right?
Yeah.
And we were discussing it, and we were discussing Angry Birds, and we're like, this kid made this app, and they make this much money off of it. We were talking about royalties and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy kind of looked at me and said, "You're good at writing. You should just make a video game." So I wrote the screenplay, the gameplay for a video game, an app on your phone, right? And it was a very small version at first because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I talked to some random people, and they're like, "Hey, give us more context of what this is." And then a 3-page document turned into 30 pages, which turned into 60 pages. And this was all for a game. And it was the storyline, it was the crafting tables, it was what this is, how this operates, what's the game, the progression and the storyboard and the storyline. That's all it really was. So I wrote this out, and I still want to make this, but I wrote it all out, and then I needed to find video game developers. So I started sending this gameplay that I wrote out to different game developers, and I didn't go for like the huge brand names or anything like Bungie, I think is what it was back then. I went for the smaller ones that created apps and games for your phone, because I wanted to see how it would go. And what had ended up happening was one guy came back and he's like, yeah, man, we can make this, but what are you putting into it? And it became this conversation of how much effort are you going to put into this? And it would have cost me like $100,000 to make this game that I had written the gameplay for.
Yeah, damn.
Jeez.
So, and granted, that's what this one developer told me, and this other one told me, yeah, man, he lowballed you. It was a little bit more than that. And I was like, okay. So what had happened was I obviously didn't have the money of $100,000, and it would have been the most unknown roll of the dice risk. And I like risk, but I like taking risk. But when it comes to something completely unknown that I have no idea about, I wasn't about to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't have the money. So how do I earn more money to create this game, to fund the development of this game? So I started writing books.
It just fell in your lap.
Yeah.
And I took the gameplay and I started writing a book around the game that with the characters that I had developed for the gameplay. So I decided, okay, I'll take these characters and I'll put them into a story that follows them around individually, and hopefully I can generate some revenue to fund the game. And then the next thing you know, Terminator Genisys came out. I knew what John Titor was, and I argued about time travel and wrote my first book. So that was the building blocks of how I did it. And when it comes to actually just writing, if you're physically writing with a pen and paper or pencil, or just typing on the computer, you like people say, you put your thoughts down on paper, right? You write them down. But me personally, I have the story formulating in my head as I'm doing it. And I feel sorry for Rick, because I know he's been there when I've done this. You hear me tapping on the keyboard, and it sounds like a fucking battlefield's going on. All you hear is tap, 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 and it's just hitting away like somebody's firing a gun. And I won't stop until I've finished writing it all. So I felt sorry for Rick sometimes, because 30 minutes would go by as I'm writing 20 pages out.
Yeah. I'd be like, hey, come on, we gotta get to work.
What?
So, and when it comes to writing the book, if you are starting to write a story, or a book, or a short story, or something, just write as much as you possibly can that you think works, and don't worry about formatting, don't worry about how it flows. Just put it all out there, and then go back and edit your own document, see if it flows properly. Then you can worry about formatting with paragraphs and sentence structure and things like that. And when a character is speaking and things like that, go back after the fact that you've written it all out, so you don't lose that momentum and that idea that you've got.
Yeah, I use that same process when I'm writing papers for school. I'll just fucking get everything out there. I want to talk about climate change, and I'll just write a few pages, whatever, and then I'll get exhausted and leave it for a couple days, and then get back to it.
I just picture you're winded.
Yeah, I'll leave it for a little while, then polish her up right before it's about time to turn it in. So,
like any
I do
true
procrastinate. Yeah.
I'm a world class procrastinator. I'll write a whole book the day before my publisher needs it.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. That's a good it's a good process. get everything out there, get as much as you can out there. Make sure your idea is fully embodied on there, envisioned on the paper, so you have all your pieces that fit in out there on the paper. Then you can go back and revise. But you do take a break because it is a lot at once, and you'll need good, strong second wind to get back at her. I can only assume. At least that's how it is with my schoolwork.
Yeah, I can only believe that you just need to take your time, but also get all your ideas out there. Clear and concise to you will eventually be clear and concise to the reader.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Did you have anything else for him? Do you have any other questions?
Have you done the whiteboard thing?
To be fair, when I first read when I was reading Timecom as it was being thought up and then put into my hands, I had to ask him the same question.
Not gonna lie to you, I think I'm gonna turn this into a TED Talk, and I'm gonna go in there and be having a bunch of people out there with whiteboards in front of mirrors. I promise you, this will work. That's how I got here. I talked to future self, and he said TED Talks is where you go.
Hell yeah. So, J.D. Smith, have you sat in front of the mirror with a whiteboard for a certain number of days as your constant?
So that's the big problem with being in the military, man. There's just no constants in your life. So I haven't been able to. Actually, the worst part is I haven't been able to do the first step of talking to new people every day to set up a kind of a link to the future self. So I haven't been able to do it in a long time, and I don't have the constant hours that I would at another place, so I haven't been able to do it.
Well, if anybody is out there listening and you want to do this, please give it a shot, and then let us know how it's going.
Yeah, if you win something, we get entitled to that.
I believe, all three of us here, because, we're bringing him to you. Go buy his book, go read the book. It's a great fucking book. It hooked me immediately. There's some subtle things in there that you'll notice that are connected to the military, and I think those are some really cool nods to especially our career field.
Very true.
Yeah. He's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. But yeah. Justin, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think we're in the quantum physics realm right now, so we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, the Rick and Rob show has not made the leap to quantum physics, astrophysics, any physics in that matter, besides me being physically fat.
Yeah.
So
on this timeline, apparently I just figured out how to read. So
you did, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, you should have seen you in the last timeline. You were still a fucking infant, so
yeah.
Couldn't do the show with you there.
Yeah. Hey man, thanks for jumping. Thanks for coming to this one.
You're welcome.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think what was it? I got told the other day we were talking about art. And did you know Pablo Picasso, that's not his full name?
What's his full name?
Dude, I don't even know, but if his mom was yelling at him, it would take her a full minute to say his full name before she tore into him. Like, he has this dumb, long name. And I just sat there and I read it. I was like, well, I really don't care anymore. But it's just kind of like, it sounds like a joke, And it's kind of like, did you hear the joke about Van Gogh?
No.
Mm-mm.
Neither did he.
Oh,
all right.
Because he has an ear.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got one for you. What's the German word for constipated?
Ooh.
Far from pooping. Saw that today on a clip from Letterkenny. Got to give a shout out there because I didn't come up with it.
Yeah, that's great. I always like in our career field, we always be talking about the old German torque wrench, the old Gutentite, you know what I mean?
Gutentite, yeah. No, I got this calibrated.
Yeah, calibrated elbow.
Hell yeah.
We use our tools properly every time.
Yeah, we do.
I don't have no tools where I work.
No. Well,
Yeah.
I think that does it for us then. J.D. Smith, thank you so much for being on the show. We're so happy to have you on. You are our number one most famous person to be on the show.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys. I had fun being on today.
Great. We're glad.
Yeah. glad you didn't give us a bad Yelp review right out of the gate. Like, yeah, you guys suck. Like, even worse in person.
Podcast interview I've ever been on.
Hey.
No, this was the best one so far. I loved it, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Hey, thank
man. All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, guys, back at it again with the Rick and Rob Show. Just a little special extra bonus sauce.
We would be the PS on a letter.
Yeah, we would be the please subscribe on the letter, the PS. Please subscribe, everybody. I wanted to bring up and talk to J.D. Smith. One question has been burning in my mind because me and Rob, as content creators, guys say content creator, I hate the verbiage that you use with that, because really we just want to fucking put this podcast out there for everybody, but at the same time we do create this content. It is content for everybody to consume. I consume the shit out of it.
I mean, in all honesty, content creator is the definition of somebody with too much time on their hands. So it's pretty much where we fall into.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Rob. I don't feel like I have a lot of time on my hands. I did recently, for a very select group of about 300 individuals, create a rap song and put that out there for the masses, but just them, because I can't tell you enough how long it took me to finally fucking narrow it down and nail it down as to one, what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. Basically, my intonation and rhythm of my voice in that rap song. And you can tell from my voice, I'm super white and not a good rapper.
Yeah, Midwestern as they come.
Yeah, well,
Us nasally boys, you know what I mean?
very, very nasally.
We had a rap group,
boy.
that's what we'd be, the nasally boys.
Yeah, we would be. And we should, I think we should, you know what, Rob? I'm going to write a rap song for us.
All right.
And that's going to become the new intro to the Rick and Rob Show.
That's fine with me.
Watch out for that in season 2. It's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, we got a new cover coming out for season 2. We got a rap song coming out for season 2.
It's going to take me a while, though. I got to get started on this now. I got I don't know. I got about 12 months to get it going. It's like 6 weeks, dude.
Yeah, we're already behind.
Yeah, I got to hurry the fuck up. But putting myself out there and having people listen to my rap song is probably like one of the extremes of creating content, because I am musically inclined, but I'm not vocally inclined. Does that make sense, Rob?
No, it makes perfect sense. Some
Yeah.
people are very gifted with instruments and understanding music and
Yeah.
whatnot, but they just weren't given the voice
No.
to do it. I wasn't given any of it.
Well,
I mean, gifted. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But I feel like I have a very comedy style of thought, right? I can make
Yeah.
a joke out of just about anything.
really, yeah.
Yeah, and everything is funny to me in some kind of way. Even though when it's not supposed to be funny, I can still pull the humor out of it.
That's true.
And I don't know if that's
Yeah.
because I'm dead on the inside. I haven't figured it out yet. But
It could very well could be. I know we went to my dad's funeral and you just had me rolling, dude. It was hilarious. The things you were saying about him and being dead and, you know, because he was a real fucking piece of shit. But
Yeah,
again, we're going to save that for another episode. I know J.D. Smith's here. He's been itching to hear about the families.
yeah, say we both got daddy problems.
Yeah, we have daddy issues.
I got daddy and mommy issues. Nobody loved me as a kid.
Well, okay, I'm going to bring us back on track here with creating content and putting it out there. I've never been self-conscious until that point. And I'm like, I don't really know how well this is going to go over. I don't know if people are actually going to want to listen to it. I don't know if they're going to like it. I don't want to get that negative feedback, so I just won't put it out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't put it out, is the world missing out on something that they would enjoy? Am I doing myself injustice by not putting it out there and at least receiving feedback on how I did, or So I think that's the big point of contention I have with creating content and putting it out there for the masses. Is, am I doing it for nothing? Do people enjoy hearing it?
Mm-hmm.
So, J.D. Smith, what are your thoughts on that and just creating content in general?
So, I really like the question because, and I can ask both of you this, and y'all don't have to answer it just yet. But do you enjoy doing it yourself? Is it fulfilling to you just by doing it? And I'll kind of answer your question with a general answer that I've come across doing all of this. When I wrote, my first book that I put out was Alternate Beginning. It was not the first thing I published. And what I did was I had to figure out how to use like Amazon and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do the publishing part. And I wrote a very BS short digital version. It was funny to me because I had this cover made, and I think it was like titled like "Read this before joining the military, you dirtbag" or something like that, right? and it had like kind of the shadowy drill instructor pointing at you, and so I just put that out there, and it was just me testing out how to do it, right? It wasn't for anything else. Well, somebody actually bought the damn thing for like $2.99, I think is what it was.
Huh.
And they gave me such a harsh review.
Oh, man.
It's so funny. And, it didn't really hurt my feelings because I was like, I can't believe somebody, you could read it for free if you were like a Kindle Prime member.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he said, save your $2.99 for a Coke or something. This was basic. Yes, and it was funny, but it didn't bother me. And because it was just my test phase. And when I put the real book out, when I put Alternate Beginning out, some people commented and read it because it was put on Goodreads. They had like a 4.8 rating, but not too many people were putting it out there. But you could tell people read it because they would kind of do a general synopsis of the story. Like it was a fast-paced sci-fi thriller or something like that. Like it was a good read. But and those people, I appreciate them, but it was not real. It's an opinion, not necessarily fact feedback. And I love the opinions because I think they're wonderful. But one guy, and I assume it was a guy, I could be wrong, one individual put out there, said, hey, at first this was a 4-star review because I thought it was too short and the author could, do with using pronouns more. And I kind of giggled when I read that, and he said, but I'm putting it back to like a 5-star or something like that because it was a really good story. That to me was the first real review that I got that offered feedback, and I laughed when I read it because he was right, because I used the name John Teeter over and over, or I say John over and over in the book instead of he or they or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was good feedback. And when I started doing it, when I put it out there, the internet is quick to respond with everything, with their own opinions. So I thought maybe I would get feedback really, really quickly. And when it came down to it, I wanted to write my first story, my first book, because it was a good story, and it was entertaining, and it was fun for me to write, and I hoped that people who read it enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed writing it. So when it came to the fear of putting yourself out there on the written word or in lyrical sense, for you, Rick,
Yeah.
I would say do it anyways, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you enjoying what you're doing. And if people are gonna hate, or people are gonna love, or people are gonna criticize, or people are gonna embrace, they're all gonna do something. I would just say, don't pay attention to the negativity. Read it, and if it's negative, if it's a negative comment, read it, take it in, go on, and don't focus on it, and move on to the ones who are like, hey, this was awesome, you did a really good job, or something like that. But in the end, don't even pay attention to all the comments or anything like that, because at the end of the day, you were the one who did it. You were the one who took the time and put the effort into making something that you think is worthwhile. And that's where I would leave the answer for fear of putting yourself out there.
I think that's really good advice there with the, don't worry about the negative, because of the old saying, you can't please everyone. And so in the content creation, you're never going to make everybody happy. You're never going to do everything that, all the people want you to do. You just can't do it. Personally, I enjoy making those rap songs. I have a lot of fun doing it. I have more fun recording it, and it's more of a challenge to myself. Like, can I make this fit? Can I make these words align the way I want them to? So, yeah, I do enjoy doing it, and especially with this show, I've come to the conclusion that, like I said, you can't please everyone. So I finally said, fuck it. Let's, Rob and I, we said, let's do a podcast. And I think we're both on the same page here, where we're both saying, fuck the haters, fuck them all.
100%.
We're just going to do it. We like doing it. We enjoy doing this shit. And we just hope that somebody out there gets a kick out of it. What we talk about, what we laugh about, the things we make fun of. Fuck Theo Von. Just all the other random things that we talk about on the show. Rob?
I mean, 100%. I agree. I had the same worries coming into this to be a podcaster, content creator. Was were we going to be able to create content that people actually enjoyed, right? And you could see that through our first few episodes, right? Because I always tell when people ask, I'm like, that first episode you can tell is a tester episode.
Yeah.
Because we tested different... Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
We tested different segments. We tried to do it different. And then I just thought to ourselves, let's break it down. Let's just talk about what we want to talk about. Who cares what fucking people think? Well, people will find this shit eventually. I promise you, there is a large number of people out there that laugh at the same dumb shit we laugh at.
Oh yeah.
Joke about the same jokes we joke about.
Yep.
Because I even like to look at other famous podcasters, right? Even Joe Rogan himself.
Yeah.
Right? Or Fuck Theo Von. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys like that. And really, Joe Rogan does nothing special in his shows. He has very good content because he has very good guests.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's not like he throws all this crazy talent of being a comedic let's try talking.
Yeah.
Being a comedian, not comedic. Being a comedian.
Jamie, pull that up.
But yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He doesn't. That was a nice touch.
Thank you.
He doesn't throw all this, this power into. He just talks about whatever with these people who are very knowledgeable on a very specific subject.
Yeah, and he's high throughout, so understanding things is difficult for him. So they need to go in depth and explain it.
And he's just like, wow, that's crazy, and like people just eat that shit up. Like,
Yeah.
It's nuts, right? So it's just like we can go out there and we're really trying to make stuff that we like to talk about that is also public friendly. You know what I'm saying? We don't
Yeah.
just talk super specific about one thing all the time. But it's crazy because there's podcasts that do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts out there that are very scripted, and listening to it, you can tell. And I
It's just not enjoyable.
No, they're not, dude.
No.
Everything that we do on this show is off the dome. Rarely is it ever planned in advance unless it's a topic or if we have a guest on and there are certain things that may push the boundaries.
But we even got a comment at our last time, about how are you guys able to do that? I was like, we just do it. Like, that's just a connection and our flow of how we figured it out, and it works for us. We're able to come up with stuff off the top of our head and make it funny, but also serious in its own way, and we just carry it on. And I just enjoy that we're able to do that together.
Absolutely.
And we even have somebody on new to this, and he fits right in. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just the practice, and it's starting to really pan out, and that's what I'm saying. Every episode's getting better.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I think the way, when we do shit off the dome with these ads, if you didn't know, it's just stuff Rob and I have come up with to, throw in there, add a little bit of realism to the podcast, because we're not monetized and we don't want that monetization level. The merch, I think, will
We'll
that
do
on
merch and stuff,
Yeah.
but we're not here to make money off of this. We're not here to push out content and push some agenda of thoughts onto the world. We just like talking about crap, and we think it's funny to make fake ads.
And they're our own opinions. With the fake ads though, we don't write any of that down. Just the beginning, like the ad itself, and then their motto. Everything after that is
We just make it up as we
improv.
go. Yeah, it's all improv.
Yeah,
Pretty much 95% of this show is improv.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
But not gonna lie to you, after doing the show,
Yeah,
I feel better about things. I don't know if just talking about things or just thoughts on your brain about a specific topic.
yeah.
I just always feel better. Or just having a good laugh for 25 minutes about whatever we're talking about that day. I don't know. I feel better doing the show. It makes me feel good to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It definitely helps, decompress, because life in the military, it's tough. So after a long day, or the next day after on Saturdays, it's nice to just be able to sit down and do whatever the fuck we want for a couple hours.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a privilege we get a whole lot.
Very relaxing. But yeah, so I think then that's our answer for you, Justin. We love to do it because we love to do it. So we're gonna put it out there and just say fuck it.
Yeah. Pretty much, fuck it's pretty much where we live at.
Yeah.
Full time.
I love it. Love it.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I'll leave you with one thing.
Oh, I'm excited.
Since this was all, mostly about time travel and stuff.
Yeah.
We are all time travelers.
Cat.
And that's what I'm leaving it with.
Hangs up.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Like a little pause. All right, bye. See you later.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting because it does harken back to Conspiracy Cast, which came out, a few episodes ago, where I talked about your book right after Rob was talking about egg theory and how we are every individual that has ever existed on this planet. As one person. We are living in everybody else, but in a different time.
And we're all growing and developing to eventually become a celestial.
Right. Yeah.
Is that what that's called? It's called the egg theory?
The egg theory, yes.
Yeah.
I always thought it was
'Cause
something
we're all-
else,
we're all
but,
in a big
we're
egg
all the same
growing.
person. Yeah.
I saw there's a few TikToks on it that break it down really good. I've got them favorited, so I'll go back through and I'll fucking shoot those over to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do have a question though, because all right, you say that we can talk to people, technically try and communicate with people in our future, right? But do people from our past
You're
try
talking
to?
about introducing yourself, like in
Yeah,
the,
like introducing, like
so
trying
that's just that's your constant throughout the day. Every day you'll go out and introduce yourself to someone new, and then you'll have a dream because you've been doing this for so long.
and you're trying to build a connection with your future
self.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So, but if you're present, you technically you're the future person for somebody from the past. So then, wouldn't you be answering people from your past while asking questions from the future?
Well, the link hasn't been made yet. Right,
But
at
what
that
if
point.
what if the person in the past is trying to make a link with you because you're in the present, but you're technically their future?
Well, you haven't done the
I love
constant
the
yet.
question.
But the person in the past is building a constant with me, and then you're trying to build a constant with somebody in the future.
Well, that's why it takes that 8 to 12 months, like he was talking about.
But 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 I'm talking. Oh, Rob from 4 years ago is trying to contact me like, "Hey, dickhead, what's coming up?"
Still?
Like-
After 4 years and you haven't figured it out? At that point, I would just quit.
Yeah. I was gonna say, guy, a whole lot of drinking between here and then. I promise you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about how this turns out.
Your liver's not gonna forgive you.
What was your question?
I think JD heard it.
Oh, I heard it. I'm just laughing about it because I love it so much. No, it's an excellent question.
Excellent.
Okay.
Your concern is your present self is sending messages to your past self.
Yes.
When in reality, you have to think of yourself as the receiver, and a lot of this is just mental ability at this time. So you are the receiver, and your future self is the transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference, and you call it the flow of time, if you will, but it's your signal, because you've got this wonderful big computer up around this bone brain of yours, your
Mine's all
skull, and the computer just syncing up together, basically. And I know what you're talking about when you're saying, well, what if your current self is sending something to your past self? But when in reality, you are setting the first step of talking to yourself in the future. You're not doing anything in the past that you're looking for the answer, if you will.
So what you're saying is, I believe, your present self, how we are in the present, right here, right now, is how we will always be. Like, you cannot communicate with the past, because what you're doing golly, bud, here we go. I'm getting all twisted up in my brain region.
It's all bone.
Okay, so you as yourself in the present, that is all that exists, and until you've established this constant, because you can talk to the future, sure, because the future is unwritten, it is yet to occur, allegedly. Not everybody believes in free will, but you can't speak with your past, I guess. So you will have these dreams where you get a response from your future self. So you would write that down in the book, and then you just have to annotate, like saying, on that day, I have to fucking, when I get this message, I have to go
Rob Bob.
I have to write purple. I have to say, here are the winning lottery numbers, because I've lived that. So in order to ensure that my future happens, I have to then, do these things to ensure that my past self is getting to where I am currently. Right?
Yeah.
Or why's your head smoking?
I love the wording too. It's so much fun. Yes, because you're creating the constant now.
Yeah.
Your past self doesn't have the constant, so you haven't created the connection with your future self. But I really love how you were like thinking of the wording as you were saying it.
It's tough, dude.
He's sweating. Like
Like Jordan Peele over here. I blew a fuse.
I mean, we haven't even talked about UFOs or aliens at this point. We're just talking about time travel.
Ay, Dios
the
mío.
membrane that is there.
oh man.
Oh, shit, dude. Speaking of aliens and shit, have you seen these TikToks recently? About
Miami,
this-
baby.
That, Miami, baby, that, and then this fucking, I don't know where it was, Argentina, Mexico, somewhere in a Latin country. I think that's safe to say. Somewhere in a Latin country. What looks
Okay,
like
there,
a
Rick.
fucking seraphim, or the angel as they were portrayed in the Bible. Like just all wing, one big eye in the middle. That's what it looks like. And it's fucking insane. If you haven't seen this shit on TikTok, it's nuts.
You gotta show me this.
I need to see that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta show me that.
My TikTok's nothing but fart jokes and Will Sasso. So
I'd make a note of it, but my phone's in this little weird device, and I don't know how technology works too good. But,
It fried your brain pretty good trying to think about future, past, and present.
yeah, I did real good. Rob, can you make a note for me? The egg theory and the alien in a Latin country.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Please, so I can get those out to you guys.
Do I need to drive you home?
After this, maybe. Fuck.
You're gonna have to talk about Dr. Pice too.
Who?
See, oh man. Here, you know what? We're not gonna get into it, but I'm gonna leave y'all with this.
Okay.
Another little thing I'll leave you with, or to jot down. Dr. Pice, I think it's P-A-I-S or Pice, however you want to say it.
He's French.
He is. I don't know what he is.
Probably
but
like Pois or something.
For just the UFO whole thing, or the UAPs, or whatever anybody's calling them these days.
Yeah.
You ever heard of the black floating triangle with 3 lights?
I believe in Arizona or something like that. No, I mean I've heard of like the triangular ships.
Yeah, the triangular ship, right?
Yeah.
It's either black triangle or the lights form a triangle or something.
Yeah.
It was a Tesla.
You're not too far off.
Oh.
It's not alien. It's naval.
Huh.
It's the Navy. Dr. Pice is the one who patented the whole thing, and he figured out how to do the power creation or absorption or whatever it is, and how to float. It's actually kind of funny if you read into it. It's kind of like the whole bumblebee idea is you get a tube with an inert gas and hit it with the right vibrations or sound waves, and it floats because the inert gas defies the gravity, or it zeroes out, so it just floats. But look up Dr. Pice and the black floating triangle, and it goes, and everybody says, oh, that's a UFO. If it's a black floating triangle, it's American.
Hell yeah.
Here in America, we ought to believe in black floating triangles.
America.
The strongest shape.
Hell yeah.
like America. It's going to be sponsored by Budweiser.
Probably not, if it's American.
It's going to be sponsored by Coors Light and Roman Candles.
Still probably no Roman candles I could see, but probably not any beer companies.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's super interesting. I will have to look that shit up, and I'll make sure to send you guys those videos too, because they're definitely worth a little bit of a watch.
A little bit of a watch.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Well, again, Justin, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you back sometime, maybe after your book blows up. Then you can really be the most famous person we've had.
Yeah, you're only sort of, you're in like an escrow phase right now.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Hell yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That'll be the end of today's episode. And we'd just like to say thank you for listening. We'd like to do a shout out, of course, to our men and women overseas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to let you know we are thinking about you and we appreciate everything you're doing. And we're sorry that you don't get to have this opportunity to spend with your family and friends. But we do here at the Rick and Rob Show 100% appreciate what you're doing over there. And
Can confirm.
show a lot of respect coming your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for everything you're doing over there. We do really appreciate it. And also, big shout out, thank you, J.D. Smith, for being on the podcast. We said it enough already. We've been saying thank you for coming on a lot, and then we just get right back into it, which we're not going to do right now.
Yeah, he's not here
This is
still.
really the end.
Yeah, we're
gone.
really saying goodbye this time.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed listening to the podcast, please fucking leave us a like, follow, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Engage with us however you want to engage with us. As long as you're engaging, we will engage you back.
Yes,
we will put a ring on it.
We are marrying folk here. Not to each other, of course.
Mormon folk. Okay.
Anyways,
go buy J.D. Smith's book, Timecom. Like I said, man, what a fucking roller coaster that was reading the book. I'm still at a loss for words. I don't know how best to describe it besides fucking amazing and original.
Hell, I'm ordering it right now as we speak.
I hear that. I see that. It's crazy, dude. Oh, there he goes, tip-tapping away. Oh, bought. Purchase
Ordered.
sent.
Purchase.
All right.
Thanks, JD Smith. Hopefully you can get yourself a new car. Maybe at John Dieter's.
Maybe John Teeter's two-seater repeater convertible.
Yeah, maybe.
From Chicago, Illinois. He'll have to get it shipped in to his location where he's at. It is currently undisclosed, but that's fine.
It's all good.
He'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks, everybody.
see you next week.
Appreciate you listening.